obscure anything from coming up. I should have sent you a screen image. Yeah, I mean it's horrible. So we do remember, and I think you interviewed this guy, and correct me if I am wrong. Richard Kerr, does that ring a bell?
How do you spell the last name?
Kerr. Richard. He was an abuse victim of.
Yes, of course, yes.
You remember him because I think you interviewed him.
Yeah, there's a very powerful documentary about him that made me cry, and then I had the honor of speaking to him after that. Yeah.
So we know from Richard, who I actually saw when you did the show, that he's scarred clearly, but he also mentioned that Roy Cohn took him to Venice to SA him. Now, of course, Cohn was Donald Trump's mentor. Cohn is a known PDF file. And in a weird thing, Hefner has only ever had one man on the cover of his magazine, and that man is Donald Trump. Isn't that peculiar? And Donald Trump, remember when I talked earlier about the photograph showing the 5 men speaking, Roy Cohn was at that event with his legal partner. And the reason I know is because it made the news and it was written in a news article. And we know that, Cohn was a horrible person. And let me just. So there. So
let me add a little something here then to the viewers.
Yeah.
Some of them might find this fantastical. So basically, Richard Kerr, he's a survivor of Kincora Boys Home, and he said that people were unalived in that home, and he's tried to get justice for decades and to speak out, and he's doing it not for financial reasons. He's doing it to honor the kids who died in there, and he's also said that the reason it was put under wraps and it's suppressed to this day is because of the peace deal that was being brokered and the political blackmail that was going on behind the scenes between England and Ireland. And so much was at stake, they just decided to sacrifice these kids, and it's been suppressed to this day. So it's all verified. I've seen all his paperwork, and it's an ongoing case that he's got.
Yeah, I mean, I give him a lot of credit for fighting these people, but it is a very large ring, and it all seems to be connected. And it all seems to be connected to the royal family. It's connected to the intelligence agencies of various countries, which is why it takes so much, even what happened in Australia, it just takes a lot of pushing. Now, we are aware that in the Jeff case, we had CIA assets posing as attorneys, and I'm going to use air quotes, helping the victims. We had multi-million-dollar settlements. These are called shut up payments. $5 million to you, $5 million to you. Who pays? The Catholic Church pays $20,000. And it takes years for the victims of the Catholic Church to get their $20,000. And so when you see like Shaun Combs, he gave her what, $30 million? That's when you're guilty. Prince Andrew gave Virginia 12, was it 12 million or the equivalent of UK dollars? What amount was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think you're about right though, about 12 million.
And so, you make these settlements to silence someone. So did we hear everything? No. Do we hear everything when one of these things rears their head? No. But Jacobs, on December 15 of 1968, at the age of 56, was found hanged by a silk sash from his robe from a beam in the garage of his home in Hove. The coroner declared it a suicide. Now, he was afraid for his life, And he had told the daughter of Laurence Olivier, Laurence Olivier, who also was his client and who was married to Vivian Lee, who this girl, who I can't remember her last name, but I know she used Vivian Lee's last name, so I forget her first name. But when she's reading the news that David Jacobs has unalived himself, she's also opening the mail with an invitation to go to dinner and to see him because they were very close. So she never believed that he did this to himself. And then a year earlier, on August 27, 1967, Epstein, meaning the Beatles manager Brian Epstein, was found unresponsive in what was reported to have been an accidental overdose. However, his bed, he was working. He had papers. He had been working. Now, it's not the first. Now, the door was closed. However, it's not the first time, if we remember Craig Spence, who was unalived in a hotel after the Franklin case surfaced, and he was found in the Ritz Hotel, unalived, having left a suicide note. And we also then have to remember how Leon Black's father, found himself flying out of the 44th floor of the Pan Am building in New York. Somebody, when they tried to unalive me, instead of being caught by cameras or seen by anyone coming into my building, he climbed up the side of my apartment and up to the roof, where he landed on my air conditioner, where he was coming in through my bedroom window. And he left, by the way, even after I escaped, in the same manner. So no one saw him. So why people the authorities conclude that just because the door is locked, that somebody did not have access, and they consider these things self-unaliving. I don't know. In those two cases, I do suspect that they were done in. Now, with Hefner, it's very likely. I mean, the girl who was 5 at the time that she alleged he R-worded her, named the Beatles in the context of what? I don't know. He also named Bill Gates. I mean, to her when she was 5, and he stayed in her life for a number of years. We have seen this as a pattern. We saw Jeff stay with some of the girls for a number of years. We saw this also with Paul Bonacci from the Franklin case. He began at the age of 3, when he was very little. His whole life he was a victim of abuse. The same thing with Richard Kerr. Wasn't he like a lifetime victim?
As soon as we started talking about Richard Kerr, they knocked about 400 people off your stream, Kirby.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well,
there you go.
Hit.
There you go.
Steadily climbing, and then boom.
There you go. Well, it's because we're speaking a truth, and we've connected these dots that nobody else has done. So I take that as a compliment.
You're over the target.
Yeah. So doesn't this show that there's a connection?
Indeed, yes.
Okay. Well, if you have a question before I kind of run off, let me know.
You've got dozens of questions. Have you got time to take some questions?
Sure.
Okay. And so if you do want to put any additional questions in now, put them in, but please try and stay on point of what Kirby's been talking about, because her time is limited. She's researching the heck out of things all day. You can just see she's gonna get back to it. So try and keep them specific to what we've been discussing, and we will see what Kirby answers here. Now, we have looked at a lot on the Manson family. So Bailey, who's a huge person of interest, asking questions on this channel all the time. We appreciate that, Bailey. Are the Manson girls still in prison? Has anyone Have any of them got out?
Well, yeah. The last time I checked, they were. One of them tried to unalive a president at one time. However, I haven't checked today's status or this year's status, so I don't know, but I suspect they might still be. I mean, I think Manson himself passed away.
Yeah, he did. We've interviewed people who've been inside with Manson and Saran and etc. And the Aryan Brotherhood used the Manson girls to smuggle contraband into the prison, and they protected Manson because they considered him a punk. They looked down upon him and just used him for his resources. So, but if you can Google and find out which ones are dead, some of them are dead, some still in prison, some released. There's all kinds of articles about that. All right, so here's an MK Ultra question, but it's more contemporary. I don't know if you want to take this. It's about Kanye's recent behavior, whether you think he's been MK Ultra'd.
Well, I've spoken to a lot of survivors of MK Ultra. I think we're all MK Ultra, frankly. That's what happens to us via the books we read, the violence we look at when we watch a film, or we listen to the news. We're in shock constantly. However, one of the things that MK Ultra is used for is actors. To help them get into the role. There are some actors that I'm not going to name right now who stay in the role. And when you hear that somebody stays in the role, it's because they're as far as what I have been told, they're MK Ultra. Now we all know that, Harley outed Harley Pasternak, who I wrote about on my Substack at the time that it happened, as being his handler. Does he have another handler? Perhaps, because he is acting very strangely on X.
All right, you got a question from Pearl. What do you think? Do you think Pamela Anderson knew, and her ex-husband Tommy, and we had all the models from that era, weren't they? I mean, Pam was like so famous back then. Playboy bunnies and Baywatch girls.
I mean, like I said, I think that these people are MK Ultra. We know that Marilyn Monroe, for example, Hefner did not use her on his cover or by the spot next to where she is buried, where that's where he's buried himself, right next to Marilyn, without her permission. And I'm sure she hates it, but what can we do? Marilyn was allowed into a military lab called Laurel Canyon. I'm trying to remember the name. However, she became very famous, and it is said that there are certain spots on, let's say, someone's face, or there's some unique feature that allows people who are also part of this group to be able to see who is part of this training, let's say, and partake. So Marilyn had this mole on her, around her lip area. And there are other things that people look at to see if somebody is a monarch trained slave. And that would be the wearing of tiger print clothing, leopard print clothing, anything cat related in the clothing, so that when we watch the movie Lolita, we see a lot of leopard prints everywhere. When we watch Stanley Kubrick's film Eyes Wide Shut, we see the tiger print in the toy store at the end. We see all the tigers. In Epstein's house, he had large stuffed tigers, and that too is MK Ultra. And so did she know, is she going to talk about it? I mean, that's what she was. She was a monarch slave. Even Anna Nicole Smith at the Playboy Mansion was allowed, given by Hef to be used by anyone. Now, here's what Hef did. He did, let's say, DRUG, just like it's being alleged with Combs. Even Anna Nicole Smith, which is why she became such a substance abuser. These substances are given to these girls and that's what Bill Cosby was accused of. The people pass out, you can do anything to them, and Anna Nicole was not safe. I don't believe that Pamela Anderson was safe. Are they going to say anything wrong? No, because the minute you say something wrong, you're no longer in the club and you're no longer of any value and you can be unalived. So, yeah, I mean, did she know? She's not a stupid girl.
Well, for all the questions coming in about Richard Kerr and Kincora and Mountbatten, I'll take that. So I've written a book called Elite Predators, from Mountbatten and Savile to Maxwell and Epstein, and we spoke to Richard Kerr, and Richard Kerr said that Mountbatten didn't prey on boys from Kincora, but he was preying on boys, and that was a motivation for him getting unalived, the bomb going off on the boat. But people asking about the drop in the this isn't people logging off. This is YouTube.
Yeah.
Forcing people off.
Yeah.
People were dropped from the stream, not voluntarily. They were forcibly dropped from the stream around the time we started talking about Richard Kerr. How that happens, I don't know the mechanics behind it, but it has happened a few times when we've been talking about controversial things. And Casey's asking you about Ted Turner.
I mean, he's a man in a powerful position. He's part of the elite.
Secret Watch, have you ever looked into Nicole Kidman? Her family was mentioned in a major Australian case.
I have, but if I speak about her father, we really will be just cut off the air.
All right. Do you want to comment on US aid? We've had several questions come in about that, and the group that you're talking about, is it related to them?
I looked at that briefly. I haven't really done enough study into that. But listen, guys, let's say, for example, the Clinton Foundation, supposed to help people. It doesn't. I mean, I volunteered and I created a volunteer group when Hurricane Katrina happened in 2005. Eventually, my group spread into my having 500 volunteers across the country. And when we heard, and we were the first of our kind, and when we heard that Clinton had created some thing, and I did not know it was with Jeff. I did not know who Jeff was at the time. And I personally sent appeals because I was contacting the head of the Red Cross. I was the head of my thing, although I didn't have time to go through. I was so busy helping people one-on-one and connecting somebody who can help with victims and teaching and training my 500 volunteers that I didn't have time to set myself up as a nonprofit, although I tried and I started. But as you can see, I get caught into the nook and cranny of things. But I got a letter back from the Clinton people. Oh, you're doing an amazing job. No help coming. So they weren't there necessarily to help. They were probably there to snap up some children, because while I was doing this, all the newspapers would call me for information, because I had, again, all these people helping, all these victims calling me 24/7. And I was in constant contact with one AP reporter. And he called me one day and he said, "Hey, have you heard about the side of their parents? And they're now selling their bodies in order to survive, to be able to buy food and get shelter." And I was like, what do you, and that had been the first instance of, let's call it the transportation or use of younger people that I had encountered. And then I was like, no, but you have to, we have to help these kids. And so when I followed up with him, he was very evasive. He didn't want to talk about it. In hindsight, when I see who Clinton was related to. And frankly, I know I've written about Clinton's previous relationship with another man who preceded Jeff, who did the very same thing and connected him to not of age girls who they again gave the white substance to and they took advantage of, and who some of them were unalived. I think the only reason perhaps he shows up at these places in Haiti or goes to Africa or goes to places where there's is to obtain, because a person can be sold, and you can get a lot of money for that person, and that person can be sold repeatedly. So the sale of let's say minors, and by the way, Avicii is somebody that I sort of knew, and Avicii was working to expose. He was a DJ. He was working to expose this very thing that we're discussing, and he was unalived. So whenever you try to bring awareness to this, some harm comes to you. So I think any of these aid places or anything, I mean, do I think they really help? No.
We've had several of the viewers confirm they were bumped off. I'll read this one. I got dropped 3 times and my internet connection was dropped just watching this in Canada. I had no other interruptions on other electronics using the internet at that time. It was just your stream. So,
wow.
Next question. Do you think Prince Andrew's covering for some of his family and that's why he's still part of the family?
I mean, they're part of the group that runs this. And as part of the group that runs this, they have a preference for, let's call it, young blood.
All right. So does Kirby know the Protest Church now runs an animal shelter in Arizona?
Yes, I am aware of that.
And regarding the Franklin scandal, do you find it suspicious that a Jesuit hospital, Creighton University, cared for the kids of Boys Town?
I have never heard of the Creighton University caring for the children of Boys Town.
Yeah, that is interesting. When will you come back for another episode? Hopefully in about 2 weeks' time. I was going to invite.
Yeah, whenever Shaun and I can find a time.
Who sold Epstein's black book? As far as I'm aware, it wasn't it. Our friend released it to, and the names obviously came from Maxwell, but wasn't it our friend who released it to the media?
Well, initially, Jeff's butler, something Rodriguez, took it as a way to have life insurance. And he presented it to Bradley Edwards, who then got J. Stanley Pottinger, who was connected to the CIA. And he got David Boies, who was the attorney for Bill Clinton and also the attorney for Harvey Weinstein. He took it to Brad Edwards, and he tried to then sell it to Brad Edwards. Brad Edwards turned around, and frankly, I'll never personally forgive him for this. He called the FBI, and then Alfredo Rodriguez was incarcerated, and then he was unalived, fast-acting cancer. And then Nick Bryant got his hands on it from Bradley Edwards, and he writes articles that he gets paid for. And at the time, he wrote an article for the magazine that initially published it, and that's how it became public.
Yeah, and the stuff I've done with Nick Bryant has been mostly taken off YouTube. But Nick has recently done a fantastic interview with my other friend, Michael Francis, on Michael Francis's channel. So if you want to see the scope of Nick Bryant's work, I would urge people to go over there. So Ivana, did Kirby find the Creedence Clearwater revival connections?
No, I didn't look for them, and I didn't find them. I mean, I didn't look for that.
Tink's wondering how many Kennedys Marilyn Monroe really slept with.
I mean, one person says one thing, another person says another thing. Here's what I'm going to say. She had an unusual relationship with Frank Sinatra, who is alleged to have R-worded her. And, the Kennedy thing, some people say, yes, she had an affair with both brothers. Some people say she had an affair with only John. But, somebody like Marilyn, because I'm trafficked. I was trafficked. And when you are trafficked and when you're a pretty girl, you have a lot of attention. And you feel that you owe someone something. And the only thing you feel that you can give anyone is if they want to sleep with you, that's okay. So that's, and you don't know your worth outside of that. So somebody like Marilyn never knew her worth outside of that. So if anyone wanted to sleep with her, it could have been and in fact, the ugliest, shortest, most unappealing man is the one who really helped her in the early days. You sleep with them. You don't think, when I was trafficked, I didn't understand my value. And, so did she sleep with? It could have been. I don't know.
All right. So, Rosie, I'm curious if there is any connections to the Swedish royal family or wealthy families, singers, actors. Thank you.
Yeah, but that would take another hour. Jeff's connections to, let's say, Sweden, and I can't go into it without my notes.
No worries. Was Hugh Hefner trying to blackmail Trump?
Trump has had a long friendship with a lot of people that are unsavory. And Trump, for a while, actually looked for playmates on behalf of Hefner. And as I said earlier, he's the only man that Hefner put on the cover of his magazine. So, no, I don't believe Hefner tried to blackmail Trump.
Did he being exposed in order to keep everyone else under wraps?
Diddy is perhaps, being cut out of the group. And he, like Craig Spence, like Jeff, like Ghislaine, they're expendable. All of these people, by the way, even Hefner, they're expendable. There's always someone new who you can put as a front person to do this sort of thing. These people are expendable.
Are the Kerrys untouchable? That's from Patty.
You mean John Kerry?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, they're part of the Forbes family.
So this person's talking about the drink from Peru that I'm not going to name. MK Ultra Tool, elites in retreats for decades. Can you decipher that?
I don't know what it means. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you for the super chat though, Laura May. We do appreciate that. If you want to put a clarification in the chat, we can get back to that. You've had a few people ask you about your thoughts on Sean Connery. I saw an interview. He did say some seriously misogynistic things. But as a kid, I idolized, the James Bond movies.
Yeah, the James Bond movies are a lot of fun, but they are misogynistic. I think Sean Connery was a good-looking guy. He was very suave. I liked him too. But again, these Hollywood stars, especially back in the day, were sort of like very macho. That said, there has been the same thing that Sean Diddy Puffy Combs Love is accused of, like the man-on-man thing. That goes back to the beginning of Hollywood and even before, that goes back into the Greek days and all of that. So, make of that what you will.
Are your thoughts on Meghan Markle within your remit or too tittle-tattle?
Well, I became suspicious of Meghan, and I did a podcast on my channel, which got a lot of views, when I saw her becoming chummy with Gloria Steinem, who we know, CIA. And that's when I was like, oh, what is she doing with her? And that's when I realized that Megan was put into a position to complete a task.
You've been asked about the resurfacing of Mel Gibson.
I think I answered that in the last conversation. When in his youth, he did a couple of interesting films. I don't know what's going on with him right now. I find him to be acting a little odd.
Well, you just got hit again. Let me just get the
What
screenshot up
happened?
just so people can say I'm not making this up.
Really?
They just knocked off another.
Wow.
Almost 500 people. It's clear.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's horrible. Do you think that they're going to let this stay on the air?
Well, we'll see. I think we've been within the community guidelines, but somebody's out
I
there
think
doing
so.
something to affect it. Elvis's involvement.
Well, it's interesting because the same person that Jacobs, who was the attorney for the Beatles, also dated Elvis, and in fact, she was in a movie with Elvis, and she was also in a movie with Tenzer, and she feels that Elvis now he was out of shape and he had been by Dr. Nick put on all of these like things to wake him up, things to get him to go to sleep, and so he really wasn't in good shape. But she believes that he was unalive. Now, clearly he was worth more, not alive, just like Michael Jackson. But I don't know. I mean, Elvis was certainly taken advantage of by the Colonel. And I've also always found it strange that he was sent to Germany, because Germany is connected to the Bush family, who is connected to Hitler's rise, and there's still a German connection to all of this stuff that we are studying that you and I haven't discussed, but maybe next time.
People are saying they put ads on the live stream to knock people off it. How?
What?
I've never heard of an ad on a live stream. They're running ads on it or something.
Neither have I.
That's so weird. I'm gonna have to look. I have to research all this when we finish. So I think we've actually got through most of the questions.
Okay,
here's a good one. How are you doing, Kirby? How
I'm
are you
doing
dealing with all
great.
this stuff? That's what Pam wants to know.
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Pam.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers in conclusion? And thanks. You've been so generous with your time. It's appreciated.
Well, I'm first of all, I want to thank you, Shaun, for shedding light day after day on these people. I think it's important work. I don't think that the regular person understands the toll this takes on us, on our psyche. Sometimes I'm sure you, like me, have a night where we find it difficult to sleep. We find it difficult to, do normal things because sometimes it's just too much. That said, those of us who can do this, I feel that it's an honor and a privilege. It's not an easy thing to do. And I am, a survivor turned, I don't know, author, researcher, historian, because I have to look at a lot of history. I would urge everyone to not forget history. I do hear people from time to time saying, forget this because it's today. No, history teaches you how to spot patterns. And patterns is the only way to make sense of the world. And so, and the other thing, don't lose. So despite everything that I went through, and Shaun too, he's been through I don't know what I would have done if I were in your shoes being locked up. I think about it every now and then, and I don't know how you did it. However, it makes us stronger, and it makes us, I think Teflon is not a good word because we're still people, but it makes us unwilling to give up. So despite what happens, I, like Shaun, we are unwilling to give up because we have poured our soul, our blood, our sweat, our tears into what we are doing today to help you understand. And so that sometimes I would encourage you to be kind when you visit somebody's channel. You know, don't nitpick the little things. If somebody mispronounces a word or doesn't get a date right, don't go and complain to Shaun. Don't come and complain to me. This takes a lot of courage to do because we, you know, that's my face. I'm not live because I'm concerned about my safety. However, just being a woman who had my past, I would still not want to be live because there's just so much contact I want with anyone because I have to remain vigilant. Prior to Shaun contacting me, I've turned down 20 invitations to appear on other podcasts. But he's my friend, and I trust him because he's doing exactly what I'm doing, and he's faced really, really harsh days just like I have. So just be kind to us, and don't listen to people who say don't learn history. Learn history, you know, follow these rabbit holes. We give you a lot of information, and we do it every day. I know that Shaun is at it 7 days, just like I am. So I just want to thank everyone who showed up. And for those of you who are watching it on the, you know, what's it called on the, when it's no longer live, it's shown to people who.
Yeah, it's on replay. It'll be on replay on YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. We're presently banned from Facebook for a month. We got a strike. So.
Oh, you're kidding. I'm sorry to hear that. So I want to thank everyone, though, who watches this for taking the time to listen, because we did have a long conversation. But I think it was an important conversation. So, Shaun, thank you.
Huge thank you to you. And what a brilliant closing statement. And I've just learned so much. I'm gonna have to watch this again just to reabsorb all of this information you've dropped on us. It's been absolutely phenomenal, and we hope you can come back in around 2 weeks' time. I will let you go though now. I'll close the show. Let you get back to your research.
Will do, Shaun. Take care. Have a good day.
To slow you down, but thank you for your time. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah, folks. So Kirby's absolutely phenomenal. All of Kirby's links are in the description. I'm going to put her YouTube channel. If you go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe, leave a comment, tell her you've come from our channel, send us some love. You know, it incentivizes the guests to come back when they see the cross-pollination. And I'm going to Google now, why the hell are live streams? Why are my live streams getting ads on them and dropping hundreds of people off? Because that is weird. I have not authorized ads on my live streams. I didn't even know live streams could have ads. So someone's tweaked something somewhere, I suspect, and I need to get to the bottom of this. And just to let you guys know what's coming up. We have got. So what night are we on? We're on Tuesday. So Ron's got his regular shows. He's back on track doing his daily shows. We've got Bev coming back with a survivor tomorrow, and Jen are interviewing a survivor. Bev and Jen co-hosting for the first time together. It's going to be a harrowing story. And then at the weekend, I think on Saturday, we've got 2 JFK experts coming on. So more JFK stuff in the pipeline. And we've got more things coming in. Sandy's saying, yeah, it just happened to me. Ads popped up. I wish I screen recorded when ads popped up. They are just making money off you. Indeed, they are. But if an ad's popping up and 500, it's dropping 500 people off the stream. That is not something that we need turned on. It needs to get turned off. Vanessa's saying she's not getting notifications even when asked to get notifications for this channel. Yeah, I mean, we've had problems up and down ever since the Jeffrey days with shadow banning and stuff like that. You know, we have to work 10 times harder to get the message out. Like Kirby said, we're doing stuff every day because of all the obstacles that have been placed in our way. But it's thanks to you, the viewers, coming back day after day to support the streams and tuning in and liking, sharing, subscribing, and the rest of it, helping us with the algorithm that's keeping the momentum going. So much love and respect to you, the viewers. And thank you. It's been so interesting with Kirby. I'm definitely going to have to read it again, watch it again.